You can talk the talk, but now it's time to.
Hi there, and thank you for joining us for this prophetic update, whereby we'll be discussing about the current events that are transpiring right here in Namibia through different places. But for this session, we'd like to focus on an event that has transpired right here in the capital of Namibia. So this event is based on the climate change issue. Pretty sure you've heard about that. So let's read something as we open up the discussion. In the book of Matthew chapter 16 and verse 23, the Bible says, "And in the morning it will be fall weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times?" That's exactly what we're discussing on, the signs of the times, okay? So we're going to discuss about this climate change issue, which has been roaring throughout country, throughout different places. This climate change policy is coming from the United States, where prophecy says everything begins within the United States. United States is a big state and is one of the feeding state among all the countries. Then, of course, they say when the United States sneezes, every country does what? Catch a flu. So we're going to take it from there. There has been a protest that has been taking place since last year, the previous year, and many other years. Not gone past. But last year, September 8, 2019, there was a protest that took place in different countries throughout the whole world. Washington, D.C. was involved in the protest of climate change. San Francisco was also there. Iowa was also there. This is a country full of religious leaders. We also have Carolina. These were also countries that were involved in the protest against the climate change because they need an action to be done on climate change. But now, we can see that now this climate change policy has swept through to Africa, right here in Namibia. So take a look, I want you to look at this that has happened right here in Namibia. Take a look at this video.
About it somewhere there. Yes, and that's the first thing. The second thing, if you just listen and then you turn around, you will see behind you they certain stalls. What? What is it? Informal sector that you see there. Okay? So that's the informal sector. And there, what is the third one? That's back, say with me. Private sector. Okay, so now listen, we are going down the street, across the road, you keep to the left, across the road, and then you go back. I want all of them in my class. Okay, don't damage them, please. All of them in my class. Yes, so now you can see. This way. Stop pollution! Make a solution! 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 Stop pollution!
So as we have seen through the video that we just saw on the screen, we are seeing that there are many young people involved within the protest. They are influenced, many of them by leaders, some by different organizations, and some by their own knowledge themselves, that as they see the climate change policy. So what I want us to panel bit is, we are seeing that the Pope is currently arranging a global compact education that is to take place 14 May 2020. I want us to look at this. Brother Adu.
Recently, the Pope has made a short video in which he made a public call to the community, where he called influential people in the society to re-educate people on climate effects. The thing that he called for is the plea that he has in his policy, Laudato Si. In this call that the Pope made to the public, he called for young people to get involved in climate movement. And based on the video we have shown you, we are seeing that even now, the climate movement in Namibia is being moved by who? By the young people. Now, the issue of him calling people to be re-educated on the effects of society has fulfilled prophecy. Let us go to the book of Revelation chapter 17 verse 13. The Bible says, "These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast." The Pope is trying to reform the minds of people, to be conformed to a new education of climate change. Now, when people get re-educated on this call, this new education, what will the Pope get? Power. And what is next? Sunday, the National Sunday Law will be next. The mark of the beast will be implemented. Now, should we be conformed to this new education? What does the Bible say in Romans chapter 12 verse 1? Romans chapter 12 verse 1 and 2. Focusing on verse 2, it says, "Be not conformed to this education, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." Should we be conformed to the call of Pope to take climate change serious? Young people are being called to take this movement serious. While the beast is calling young people to get active for his efforts, why are young people not getting active for God's work? So while the beast is getting people into the Sunday movement, God's people are being called, especially young people, to get active in gospel work. We should take the message but not be conformed to what is happening around. This video is to call us to gospel action. While the world is busy uniting their forces to combat what is happening in society, we also should unite our forces and our energies as young people to spread the message. This movement is going to affect many young people to get active in calling for climate change. Just as what happened in America, just as what happened in the Middle East, we have seen young people have been used to take the climate movement forward. For example, a common figure that has come out publicly to call for leaders to take this movement seriously is Greta Thunberg, a young lady who called for climate strikes. She encouraged other young people to leave schoolwork and to get into these strikes, calling for leaders to unite so that they may take the environmental issues so serious. What about the youth in God's church? Are we going to be united in gospel action, or are we going to follow and wander after the beast?
So is Greta Thunberg connected with, is the movement taking place in the United States led by Greta Thunberg connected to the movement we are seeing right here in Namibia? Of course. If you take a look at the video called Connect to Earth, you will see that there are the video was actually made in the United States. The protesters were in the United States. But we can see that Namibia, you see a group of young people there, children, who have been pushed, influenced to be part of the climate movement. So what I want us to say is, Revelation chapter 13, verse 7. Just listen to what it says. It says, "And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindred, and tongue, and nations." So this is what the Pope tries to do. The papacy is trying to influence, and his power will be given to him, not by God of course, but by the devil himself. Power to overcome all kindred, all nations, and all types of people. But of course, I want us to learn this precept. Let's get to the book Great Controversy as we conclude with this quotation. Great Controversy, page 571, page 587, pardon me, paragraph 1. It says, "The leaders of the Sunday movement may advocate reforms which the people need, principles which are in harmony with the Bible. Yet while there is with these a requirement which is contrary to God's law, his servants cannot unite with them. Nothing can justify them in setting aside the commandments of God for the precepts of men." As we all know, the papacy is one and the only founder of the Catholic Church, the leader of the Catholic Church. And as he gets through this climate movement, he will try to bring a forefront image to the people, that they may see that he's trying to bring what? Peace to the nation, peace to the individuals. So they will try to bring all the people to gather up together. And at the end of it all, it will be a discussion that they must set a day on which they have to worship, to pray together, so that these calamities may stop. We can't go far. We are seeing calamities right here in Namibia which are happening. Drought.
Severe drought.
We are seeing these things.
Kettles are fainting.
Exactly.
No rain.
So these are the things that the Pope will try to pursue people to unite on and pray together that these calamities may end. But again, the Bible says there are those who will stand true, who keep the commandments of God and have the faith, the testimony of Jesus Christ.
Who will not bow down.
Will not bow down
to the Pope's plea.
To the Pope's precept.
There's no planet B! No justice, no peace! There's no planet B! No justice, no peace! There's no planet B!
This is the largest protest that I've been to besides the Women's March. This time it's kids striking from school for climate change on the second-year anniversary of Hurricane Maria. There are over 1,000 actions happening in all 50 states and 100.
The age of people who are demonstrating, almost all of them are students. This group behind me, just 9 years old. We spoke to a group of 17-year-olds who said they're here today to fight for their future. Now, the goal of this strike, and really all these strikes around the world, is to send a clear message to world leaders ahead of the UN Climate Summit happening this week in New York. And one of their many demands is to say they want to phase out all fossil fuels by 2030.
People all around the world in the biggest protest yet over the state of our planet.
An extraordinary show of people power, their message.
So why is this climate change policy being on board, especially now, and especially involving the young people? Why is it so? Let's read something from Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. We're going to learn something that is very interesting. Here's what the Bible says in verse 16. It says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads." So you can see the word small is there. This is why this movement is mostly tackling or involving the young people, the small people, because earlier on in history, we can see that movements had been established by young people. They have power, they have zeal, and once they carry forth something, it will be to its greater level. One example I always like to give is young people are people who are not ashamed, nor even afraid, but they always want to be unique. When you see young people in the streets walking around with their hair colored purple, they are not shy. They are just unique in their own way. They want to be unique in their own way. We see also young people who cut these funny cuts on their hair. They are not shy. They walk publicly within the streets. So that symbolizes that if the young people were given the right message of God to proclaim, they would carry it with power and with zeal. But for now, they are carrying the zeal in a wrong way. Brother Adu, do you have something to add on that?
Like the mustard seed, it's so small, but as it grows, it blooms. Now what is God giving us here? God is telling us that the small movements that are now happening in Namibia or in other parts of Africa, they will become very vibrant. And as young people cry aloud, what will be the call? The call will be to unite forces to combat the climate change, the things that are happening on ground. Now, what is the call when God is telling us of these things? Or when God is opening what is clearly to us the signs of the times? Let's go to the book of Mark chapter 13, verse 28. The Bible says, "Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When the branch is yet tender and put forth leaves, ye know that summer is what? Is near. So ye, in like manner, when ye see these things come to pass, in like manner, when you see leaders, especially young people, involved to unite in climate changes, we must know that what is nigh? Christ coming is nigh. Not only Christ coming, but the national Sunday is what? Is nigh. Even at the doors. Then what must we do while night is approaching? Bible says, work while it is day, for the night cometh when no man shall work. So God is calling for young people to work while it is day. Our time is given for us to work, to warn, to pull others from the fire who are yet ready to die. Their souls, their hearts that are open. But if we do not work, those hearts will soon be what? Will soon be closed. So God is calling our attention to the signs of the times, but He's also calling our attention to gospel action. Young people must get their feet out there and preach the everlasting gospel.
We are going to look at the effects and the results of why this movement, this policy, this climate change movement, and what is it going to cause as it proceeds. So now, one of the effects of this spread of this climate change is that it will get countries united, world leaders united, so that as they unite through the policy of climate change, the effects thereof will be to unite. The result thereof will be a national Sunday law. So this is how it will move about. They will get all the leaders, all the countries united or to protest on the climate change, to unite in terms of agreeing that a solution is needed to the climate change. And as they both agree that indeed a solution is needed, they will come across a one-day, a world one day in which they can all worship and to combat climate change, to pray for the calamities that are being caused by the climate change so that these can cease. But we see that as they will unite, there is a special group of people that will not unite to this combating of climate change. And that special group of people will be the none other than the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which are described in the book of Revelation chapter 12 and verse 17, which keep the commandments of God and have what?
The faith of Jesus Christ.
The faith of Jesus Christ.
But I want to, before I cut you short, I want to speak of the people who are going to stand. Not only Seventh-day Adventists, but true people who are going to be keepers of God's commandment, even when this is going to be implemented. Because God is not going to look for people who claim membership to stand for truth, but God is going to look upon people who have stood for truth, even at the test of truth. People who are going to choose rather to worship God than men. People who are going to stand for the truth and none but the truth. So the people who are going to overcome what is coming before us are people who are going to be grounded on Bible principles, are people who have prepared their lives, who have reformed their hearts to God's way. So that if what we see now calls us to heart transformation, to character transformation, because we are told, learning from what the Bible says, that the main group of people who will be involved in giving power back to the beast, not only the great, not only the rich, but is the what? The small also. The young people will be the focus, will be the attention of this climate change movement. They will be used to go forward in calling the world to unite, so that they can bring upon a day in which God can answer their cry. What is the cry? We are suffering. There is no rain. Our animals are dying. There is no money in the country. Economic crisis. All these will be, all these current problems will be, they will accuse climate change to be the what? The result of what is happening what? In society. And who are going to be used to call for these cries or to call for these problems that are happening, or to call for unity to combat these problems is young people. Now, what is the call for God in the Bible for young people? While others are being led into error to unite on a day which God did not endorse, what should be the call to those young people of truth? What should be the call to those young people who see the signs that are happening? They should be used by God to take the message which they have to pull people out of what? This era. So we are told in great controversy that when this climate change will be so severe, they will say no, one way we can overcome this is only through Sunday. And those who are going to oppose this call to unite on Sunday, they are going to be regarded as the troublers of what? The nation. The enemies of what? Of peace. Because others have joined when they will call for peace, but others will not join. So God is calling us to join hands with Him to take others out from this wrong movement, that to lead them one day to deny and to make void what? The law of God.
And again, thank you so much for tuning in and for joining us for this discussion that we just had. So it's time that our eyes be opened to the signs of the times. Stay tuned as we keep on updating you with more prophetic updates where we discuss the signs of the times. Again, Revelation chapter 14, verse 6 to 12. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God and give glory to Him, for the hour of His judgment is come, and worship Him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. Verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus Christ. Maranatha.